A lot has changed in Western society in the last 400 years, and very few paintings emphasize this as this creepy painting. Titled The Anatomy Lesson of Dr. Nicolaes Tulp, it's one of Rembrandt's early masterpieces. The Dutch Golden Age painter completed it in 1632, nearly 4 centuries ago, and there's something peculiar about the people in this work. It depicts a lecture given by a prominent Amsterdam-based surgeon at the time named Nicolaes Tulp. He later became a prominent politician, but more about this intriguing figure in just a moment. The first thing you notice is that the finely dressed gentlemen look incredibly curious as they listen to what the surgeon has to say. There's a reason why they are dressed this way, and this only increases the creepiness of Rembrandt's painting. The arm of the poor fellow on the table is cut open, and his muscles and tendons are hanging out. He's clearly dead, and Rembrandt highlighted this by partially covering his face in a shadow, a so-called umbra mortis, or a shadow of death. So who are these people? What are they doing here? And what are the details that make this painting so creepy? Let's take a closer look. First of all, the title makes it clear that Dr. Nicolaes Tulp is giving an anatomy lesson to curious spectators. He was the lead surgeon at the time, and also what was referred to back then as the city's lead anatomist. Later in life, he became the mayor of Amsterdam. Tulp was also a prominent member of the Guild of Surgeons, which assembled in the Amsterdam Waag. This medieval structure was a former city gate that was repurposed in 1617 as a weighhouse. It also featured meeting rooms on the second floor where both the surgeons and the artists of the Guild of St. Luke met. The painting was commissioned to decorate this space and hung there for several centuries. Tulp was 39 years old and Rembrandt was just 26 when this painting was completed. The painter recently moved to Amsterdam from his native Leiden, and this was his first major commission in the city. You can see that he paid a lot of attention to the details in the painting. Just look at how accurately he depicted the facial features of the living men, as well as those of the dead man. This is probably the moment that you start wondering who this corpse belonged to, right? This is when the creepy part starts, because this unlucky man was a criminal named Aries Kind, short for Adriaan Adriaanszoon. An hour or so before this scene took place on January 31, 1632, he was still alive. The petty thief had been sentenced to death for committing an armed robbery and was hung in the morning. I tend to think that he didn't sign an agreement for his dead body to be used for scientific purposes, but that's another story. The truth about this grisly scene is that this was actually a social event back in the 17th century. Every year, the city anatomist, in this case Dr. Nicolaes Tulp, would perform the dissection of a dead body. There was just one rule: this had to be an executed criminal, in this case, the armed robber Aries Kind. This also explains why these men were so finely dressed. After all, they still had to attend a dinner party after the main event. The painting only depicts part of the event, because these weren't the only people present. Dozens of people were crammed into a theater-style setting to witness the annual dissection of a corpse. The dissection of a dead criminal was very popular, so people had to pay a lot of money to enter the arena. In case you wonder what this might have looked like, you can check out a 19th century masterpiece called The Gross Clinic. This painting by American realist painter Thomas Eakins depicts a surgical theater at Jefferson Medical College in Philadelphia. Unlike in Rembrandt's painting, the people at the theater are college students who watch the surgery of a living person. His follow-up painting of 1889, titled The Agnew Clinic, clearly shows the medical advancements at the time, especially in terms of cleanliness. All the men in this painting were doctors in Amsterdam, and all of them paid a handsome amount to be depicted in it. The more prominently they were depicted, the more they had to pay. Those were Rembrandt's terms. Dr. Tulp himself had to pay about double the amount as the men in the background. Now here's another creepy detail about Rembrandt's painting, and more specifically about his signature. The Dutch painter was still experimenting with how he would sign his paintings, as he used several variations. Between 1625 and 1632, he used capital R, capital RH, and capital RHL. These were references to his first and last name and his native city, Rembrandt Harmenszoon van Rijn, from Leiden. It's believed that he painted the navel of the corpse in the form of an R to sign this painting. For understandable reasons, he changed his mind and signed it in the top right corner as Rembrandt. It was probably the first time that he signed the painting as such, and he continued to do so for the rest of his career. Another interesting element is the rather accurate representation of a dissected forearm. Art historians think that Rembrandt copied what he saw in anatomical textbooks that were available at the time. Another possibility is that Rembrandt was present at the dissection and quickly drew what he saw. After all, some elements he painted, such as the mysterious white cord, have still been investigated in the 21st century. Although he accurately painted the dissected forearm, little about the actual event is truthful. First of all, there's no sign of the preparator, the man who actually cut open the body. The lead doctor would have never done this himself, so the preparator should be present to remove all remaining organs. Rembrandt solved this by painting a large textbook where this assistant was supposed to be. Secondly, and most importantly, an actual dissection would have never started with cutting up the left forearm. The preparator would have started by cutting open the chest and removing all internal organs, starting with the intestines. These decay pretty rapidly, so there's a little urgency involved with an event like this. All things considered, I think we can all agree that cutting up a recently deceased person for entertainment purposes is pretty gruesome. Again, this pretty much highlights the difference between our culture and the time Rembrandt lived in, the 17th century. Many art historians have referred to the Dutch painter as one of the greatest artists in history. His ultimate goal was to depict what he referred to as the natuurlijke bewegelijkheid, or the motion of nature. This likely meant that his main aim was to blend earthly matters and the spiritual. He painted over 40 self-portraits, and these not only show his artistic skills, but also the emotions he went through throughout his life. This ranged from extremely self-confident around the time he painted this work, to distressed when he faced financial difficulties. Regardless of the incredible level of artistic skill it displays, the anatomy lesson of Dr. Nicolaes Tulp remains a pretty creepy sight to behold. Perhaps this is a sentiment you share, but I'm always intrigued when I look at paintings that transport us back several centuries. Dutch Golden Age paintings are therefore on top of my list of favorites because they depict things that were common back then. These range from interior settings to outdoor parties and peculiar events such as this anatomy lesson. It's hard to believe, but to the painter, this setting was nothing more than a paid event, the annual dissection of the Amsterdam-based surgeons. Things certainly have changed a lot, but Rembrandt managed to use his talent to provide us with a glimpse of the past, about 400 years later.